Shalom, this is Tirsa Lewis with the Rekachai Israeli Beit Midrash. Today we are going to be starting a new series for women called Hebraic Womanhood 101. This today is our first episode, and our lesson will be on our form, our function, and our purpose. So I'm going to start the presentation up now. Okay. I think. Okay. So again, our this is episode 1, our form, our function, our purpose as women. And I am going to start out by reading Genesis chapter 2, verses 18 through 24. This is from the New American Standard Version. Then Yahweh Elohim said, "It is not good for man to be alone. I will make him a helper suitable for him." Out of the ground, Yahweh Elohim formed every beast of the field and every bird of the sky and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called a living creature, that was its name. The man gave names to all the cattle and to the birds of the sky and to every beast of the field. But for Adam, there was not found a helper suitable for him. So Yahweh Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall upon the man, and he slept. Then he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh at that place. Yahweh Elohim fashioned into a woman the rib which he had taken from the man, and brought her to the man. The man said, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of man. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and his mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." So as we are looking for our form, our function, and our purpose in the Torah, it is very necessary to begin with these verses, because this is where and how woman came onto the scene, came onto the earth. So when we're looking at form and function and purpose, we have to remember that all of these things are very much so connected. When you're building something, when you are forming something, when you are creating something, when you're making something, there is a direct relationship between the form of a thing and its function or its purpose. When we look at ourselves as women, we must look at ourselves in the context of the form, the function, and the purpose that the Most High had when he created us. Yahweh Elohim fashioned into a woman the rib which he had taken from the man and brought her to the man. The Hebrew word for fashioned here, and it's made in other translations, it says made, is the Hebrew word banah, which means to build. And it's important to recognize who it was who built Hava, who built the first woman. If anyone doesn't know, the first woman, her name in English, we call her Eve, but in Hebrew, her name is Hava. So when you hear me say Hava, I'm referring to Eve. Now, who built her? Who built Hava? Who built Eve? It wasn't Adam, because he was asleep. And it wasn't her either, because she wasn't on the scene until the Most High created her. It was Yahweh who did it. It was Yahweh, the Most High, who built the woman, who built her, who made her, who fashioned her, who formed her. As we are on the path to discovering our form, our function, and our purpose, we must look to the foundation that the Most High used and be built up by his spirit of holiness. And we definitely must not be built up by what society teaches us that a woman is. Our form. Let's talk about our form. The first woman, how does she look? How was she shaped? What was her form? The Hebrew word for rib is zelah, and that means the side of an object. In other places in the scripture, it can mean building materials or beams of a structure or the flooring or even a chamber. And so when we think about the Hebrew word for rib, it's not just the rib that forms within the body, a bone in the body, but it has with it the idea and the understanding of supporting a structure. And even our ribs support our bodies. It forms a protection around our lungs and our heart, our vital organs. It supports our shoulders. It helps to facilitate breathing. So Yah took this supporting object from man, from his first man, from Adam, and he built the first woman from it. Inherent to understanding our form is recognizing that our form was created in the context of Adam. We were formed with the man in mind. Our form was created in the context of being a helper suitable for man. So when we look at the form of our bodies and we look at our womb, this chamber that we have inside of us that is able to nurture and nourish and build up life. And when we look at our breasts, which provide nourishment, and when we look at even how our minds think and our softness and our nurturing abilities and even our beauty, when we look at our form, we must also think about the function of all of these attributes that we have. How do these things tie into the context of when Yahweh first created us? How does it tie into that context of being a helper suitable for man? That really leads us to our function. It says here, then Yahweh Elohim said, it is not good for man to be alone. I will make him a helper suitable for him. The word for helper suitable for the man is Ezer Kenegdo. A helper, I want everyone to understand this, a helper does not connote weakness or inferiority. When Hava or Eve was Hava or Eve built from a weak or useless bone or organ in the man's body? No, she was built from a supporting bone in his body. For example, if I need help carrying a grocery bag from my car, I'm not going to call my 1-year-old son to help me with it. He just learned how to walk a couple weeks ago. He could carry his little toys around maybe, but if it comes down to helping me to carry something of substance, something of importance, I'm not able to depend upon him to do that. I need to call one of my older children to help me with it. Someone who's a little bit stronger, someone who's a little bit older. So strength is a very necessary role in being a helper. Health is a necessary role in order to be a helper. If someone is unhealthy or someone is weak because they're unhealthy, remember, weakness is a consequence or something that comes from being sick. They are not able to help. Someone who is skillful is also necessary in order to be a helper. You can't call upon a fool to come and help you with something. They aren't able to rationalize. They're not able to take simple ingredients and make something out of it. So you need, for there to be a helper, it's not just someone who has no thoughts and no substance and no strength. Remember, we talked about how the woman was made from this strong support of a man, that rib, that zelah that comes from the man. And so it's important that we as women, when we're looking at this through the lens of the Torah and through the lens of how the Most High created us, and looking at our function as being this Ezer Kenegdo, this helper, we have to look and see that this is not coming from a place of weakness, but from a place of strength. Our function is to help with what? What are we in this Ezer Kenegdo to do? The scripture says in Genesis chapter 1, verse 28, and Elohim blessed them, and Elohim said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea and the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. And this is talking to both Adam and Hava together. This is talking to them together. So a woman, her function is to help man in these two great commandments, the first commandments that was given to mankind. And what is her role in that? The word for suitable, Kenegdo, comes from the Hebrew word neged, which means a counterpart, or someone who is at hand, someone who is present, and even someone who is opposite of or in front of. And so the man and the woman, Adam and Hava, was given this role, this job. They was told to be fruitful and to multiply and to replenish the earth and to subdue it. How does man do that without Hava? How does he do that without his woman at his side, his counterpart? And to have dominion over all of the earth, the fish, the fowl, and every creature that moves upon the earth. And so we can see here how woman, her form was created with the context in mind of bringing forth new life, of that whole being fruitful and multiplying, replenishing the earth, and also being able to be at the man's side as he is having dominion and as they are having dominion over the earth. If it's a king, this is his queen. So we are here to help man to fulfill the joint commandments, to be stewards over the earth, and to be fruitful and to multiply. To further prove that a helper has a supportive role, the Most High uses the term Ezer to describe his own function towards us as his people. There's certain verses in Hosea 13, verse 9, Psalms 115, verses 9, 10, and 11, Psalms 121, verses 1 through 2, Psalm 124, verse 8, Psalms 146, verse 5. When the Psalm says, I will lift my eyes to the hills, from where does my help come? My help comes from Yahweh, the maker of heaven and earth. That word help is Ezer. Yahweh is our helper. And so if we're thinking, if he's calling himself and referring to himself as being our helper, then that obviously means that a helper is strong and has the ability to help to lift up and to help to build. This leads us to our purpose. Our function as Ezer Kenegdo is bound in our purpose to be life bearers. The first woman was named Hava, which means living or making alive. Hava is representative of our innate ability to help man with the first commandment, which was to be fruitful and to multiply. And Elohim blessed them, and Elohim said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it. One of the most beautiful blessings in the Torah is the blessing that Rivka's parents sent her out of their home with when she was going off to be the Ezer Kenegdo of Isaac. Genesis 24, verse 60 says, they blessed Rivka and said to her, may you, our sister, become thousands of 10,000s, and may your descendants possess the gate of those who hate them. So we join with man to bring forth life or to be life bearers of the future generation. Our form was created for this ultimate purpose. Our ability to incubate and nurture life, to continually build up a righteous seed in the earth. We have to first attain wisdom and understanding and spiritual strength to then build or bana our homes. Proverbs 14 verse 1 says, the wise woman builds her house, but the foolish woman tears it down with her own hands. And when we look at this verse, the word for builds here is bana. And that is the same word that was used when the Most High built woman. So we can kind of see here how the Most High bana, he built us, and then we go on and we build our homes. If we're wise, that's what we do. We build. We were built to build. And we do this by building wherever we may find ourselves. It's always a building process. So the question becomes, is our identity, tied to that of a man? Is our identity, who we are, tied to that of a man? And I would have to qualify that and say that our identity is tied to man, but it's not tied to just any man, not just any man out here in the streets. Our identity is innately tied to our husband. Why? When we look at the verses in Genesis chapter 2, it says, the man said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of man. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and his mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. The Hebrew word for woman here is Isha, which is the feminine of Ish. She was taken from man. She was taken from Adam to help him, to bring forth life, and to build a home life that would support the family. But she's the helper of not just any man. She's the helper of one man, which is her husband. In fact, the word taken here in this verse in the Hebrew can also be a word for to be married. And so we as women are, we cannot look at our role as just being a role for all men. We are the Ezer Kenegdo, the helper of one man, and that man is our husband. So do you see how a woman was built to build? Do you see how a woman was built to build up a home, built to build up a family? Her body and her womb was built to create life and to bring forth life into the world. That was the functioning of her body. And as far as her ability to nurture and to be this a woman who is able to bring up and raise children who will become the next generation. So building up an inheritance of faith in the children. Do you see how her role is necessary and in some ways even representative of the help that Yahweh offers to us as his people? He is the Ezer of his people. He is our help. He is our strength. He is he supports us when we are in need. And do you see how a man's wife is favor or grace to him from on high? The Bible says that he who has a wife, who has a wife has a good thing. This is called grace. Now, whether we are walking functionally or walking within our function or walking dysfunctionally, our form remains the same. A lot of people ask if can we function in our purpose when we're not married, when we're single. Are we able to function in our purpose if we're not married to a righteous man, or maybe to a man who's not as advanced spiritually as we are? Can we function in our purpose if we're a single mother? Can we function in our purpose if we're a widow? If we've had a husband and our husband has passed away? The thing here is that the wise woman is going to function, walk in her function, wherever she finds herself in life. But let's first look at the single woman or the virgin. Paul says in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verses 32 through 35, but I would have you without, but I would have you without carefulness, that he that is unmarried cares for the things that belong to Yahweh, how he may please Yahweh. But he that is married cares for the things that are of the world, how he may please his wife. There is a difference also between a wife and a virgin. The unmarried woman cares for the things of Yahweh, that she may be holy both in body and in spirit. But she that is married cares for the things of this world, how she may please her husband. And this I speak for your own profit, not that I may cast a snare upon you, but for that which is comely, and that ye may attend upon Yahweh without distraction. If a woman is a virgin, or a single woman without children, or an older widow with grown children, she should concern herself with the things of the Most High. Her thoughts and affections should be set on building the kingdom in her capacity. She should be in tune with the word and with wisdom, preparing for a husband and a family if she's a virgin. Or she should be satisfied with bringing glory to Yahweh in her life. So we are first the Ezer Kenegdo of the Most High. That is our primary responsibility in life. That is our primary, for everyone, for all humanity, is to work and to build up the kingdom of the Most High. But when we are married, we have distraction from that responsibility, because we have to see about our husbands, and we have to see about our children. And maybe saying these things are distractions is a little bit it's a big word to use to say that, but this is what Paul is actually getting at here when he's saying the word distraction. So these are things that take us, and these are good things. These are good endeavors. When we have a husband and when we have a children, when we're building up our house, this is actually what our purpose is. But before we're walking in that purpose, our thoughts and our minds and our focus should be on the Most High. A woman who is unmarried with children must walk in her function to raise up a righteous generation unto Yahweh. She's still building. She's still building up a righteous generation unto Yahweh. And her focus has to be on him and on his ways. But she must also walk in the aspect of building a household, and building a household of faith, even without the leading role and the support of a husband. When opportunities present themselves to us, and I have opportunities in quotation marks, you don't see me, so you don't see my quotes, but when opportunities present themselves to us, in order for us to devote our time, our attention, our resources, our affections even to them, we have to evaluate them in terms of our form, our function, and our purpose. For instance, if you're a single woman and you're walking in your form, you're functioning your purpose, and you're, building up the kingdom of the Most High. If someone who is an unrighteous man shows interest in you, you should not devote your time to that person, because that man doesn't have anything for you. if a man is approaching you about having a relationship with him, but he's not interested in making you his wife or his Isha, he's not interested in forming this bond with you, and in taking you to be his wife, don't give this person your time and your affection and your devotion. Because remember, we are not formed for just any man out here, but we are built in mind to be the Ezer Kenegdo of one man. And if we're not in that relationship yet, then our function is to be the Ezer Kenegdo of the Almighty, of Yahweh. If opportunities present themselves that cause you to compromise your relationship with the Most High, and if you're married, to compromise your relationship with your husband, and if you have children, to compromise your relationship with your children, don't consider these to be opportunities. These are distractions, they're snares, they're traps that sometimes they can even look very appealing to us. And sometimes we find ourselves devoting our attention to those things, but they end up taking us off of the path that we should be on. They end up taking us off of the path that Yahweh has for us to be on. And we end up at a destination that's entirely outside of our function, outside of our purpose, outside of the will that the Most High has for us. And then we have to find our way back. And sometimes we can be years down that wrong path before we find ourselves walking back to our function and to our purpose. We must be about the purpose that Yahweh created us to walk in. This discussion has been about our general purpose as being women. But each of us has a specific calling on our lives, a specific purpose that's given to us. And our purpose can vary from season to season in our lives. If you're a single woman, maybe your purpose is to go out and to, help, homeless children or needy people, or to help the elderly, and focus all your attention into that. And then when you're married, maybe your attention is going to come off of those different things and focus on your own children and building up your own family. A woman who has grown children, she may find herself really being active and her walking in a purpose of building up women and building up the next generation of mothers, because her children are grown. And so she's able to lend a hand to some other women and give them some advice and some counsel to help them along the way. So when you're looking at your own individual purpose, when you're looking at your own individual function and walking in it, the scripture says, "See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of Yahweh is." That's Ephesians 5, verses 15 through 17. "And if any woman lacks wisdom, she should go to the source of wisdom, which is her creator, Yahweh." It says here, "If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of Elohim, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given to him." We live in a society where women are being fed lies. We're being fed lies about even our form. There's a lot of plastic surgery going on here, and trying to get our minds to think that the form that the Most High created and the way that we look as women is not attractive, or is not beautiful, or is not tov, it's not good. Where we get fed lies through our children having these dolls and different things like that, with proportions that aren't human proportions. And we get these mindsets in us that we have to kind of dispel over time. Even the stretch marks that we have as a result of bearing children, sometimes we look at those and society would have us to think, some society, I should say, not all, that, those things aren't attractive. And somehow we've lost our attraction. But at the same time, the reason we have those stretch marks, of course, is because we've walked in our function. That was the function of our womb. That was the function of our body. And so we have to realign ourselves because of the lies that we're being fed and that we're being taught. When evaluating our purpose, when evaluating opportunities as they present, and I have my quotes here, when evaluating situations and circumstances that come up in our life, we should always line those things up with the providence of the Almighty. And when I say providence here, I'm talking about his plan for us. I'm talking about the guidance that he gives us, the wisdom that he gives us, the protection that he gives us. Jeremiah 29 verse 11 says, "For I know the thoughts that I think towards you, saith Yahweh, thoughts of peace and not evil, to give you an expected end." What is the end goal? What is the end purpose? What is the end desire for your life? What is his divine plan for you? What is his goal for you? And how do you function and walk in that? And it's always important to understand that when you're considering something, you need to make sure that you know in your heart that nothing that is for you is going to take you outside of your purpose. Nothing that is for you is going to take you outside of your function. Nothing that's for you is going to take you outside of your form. If this gift comes from the Most High, and if it's for you, it's going to fit within your form, your function, and your purpose at every single level of your life, whatever state of life that you're in. If you're a wife, if you're a mother, if you're a single woman, if you're a widow, it's going to fit within your role. It's not going to take you outside of the role that he has you in. So when we're looking at this, we need to think about it. What is the lifestyle that he has for us to live as his righteous daughters? How does our choices lead us towards the peace that comes with simply walking with Yahweh? We, like man, was created to dwell with Yahweh forever. And this is the point of all the building and all the functioning, is to dwell with the Most High forever. That's the expected end. If any actions that you are doing in your life, or decisions that you're making, or any words or thoughts that are impacting you do not line up with the expected end that the Most High has for you, I encourage you to flee from those things and to run towards Yahweh. I encourage all women, including myself, to pray for and to get that wisdom that comes from on high. And then once we've gotten that wisdom, to walk in it and to be the woman, the Isha that you were built to be. So I pray and hope that this was a short lesson, but I pray and hope that this will just resonate within all the women who hear this. When you are sweating because the work is hard and laborious, just remember that you were built to build. Remember that you were built not to sit and not to relax and not to just, just be waited upon. But we was built to actually wait upon, right? We was built to be ready. We was built to be strong. We was built to labor, right? We wasn't built to just relax. And so we just need to remember our function. We need to remember, why we're here and what we're here to do. If anyone has any comments, you could put them in the comments section. Our email is directacod HW101Ep1.gmail.com. You can feel free to send me a message, send me an email, or go on our website. There is a contact form on our website as well. Again, my name is Tirza Lewis, and this was episode 1 of Hebraic Womanhood, and talking about our form, our function, and our purpose. Thanks for listening. Shalom.